President Trump's efforts to expand presidential authority to push through his extreme agenda is on a scale unlike anything the United States has ever experienced before. With a neutered Republican-controlled Congress, it has been on the judicial branch to push back on that agenda. And this past week alone, we've seen numerous judges calling out the illegality of many of Trump's actions. But the New York Times points out that while the courts are serving as a rare check on Trump, the judicial orders to unwind his actions can be easier said than done. Case in point, on Thursday, a federal judge blocked the administration from revoking Harvard University's ability to enroll foreign students. And late last night, around 1 in the morning, Trump posted on social media a demand to know the, quote, names and countries of Harvard's foreign students, which he described as being from, quote, foreign lands. That is a little bit scary. So joining us now, we have our friend, former federal prosecutor, University of Alabama Law School professor, co-host of the hashtag Sisters in Law podcast, and MSNBC legal analyst Joyce Vance. So Joyce, I don't even know where to start. There's so much going on right now. Ultimately, is the Supreme Court just going to have to decide these cases that are these big cases of executive power, are they going to the nation's highest court?
I think that's part of the answer, Elise. Ultimately, these issues will be resolved by the Supreme Court. But what we're watching happening in real time is this effort by the Trump administration to shift the balance among the three branches of government that the founding fathers set up in the Constitution. Donald Trump has assumed this very conservative view of a unitary executive who controls all the power of the executive branch. And Trump is trying to seize, frankly, some power even beyond that. So ultimately, these cases, regardless of their topic, whether it's about Trump's hiring power, his ability to interfere with Congress's spending power, his ability to fire people, his ability to rewrite the Constitution, these all will land in the Supreme Court's lap. Different sorts of subject matters, but a consistent theme of the effort to seize all of this power for the executive branch.
And, you know, Joyce, it doesn't seem like even once these questions go to the Supreme Court that the Trump administration or President Trump or even the vice president will accept the rulings from the Supreme Court. And I say that because of something that the vice president said on Wednesday that I want you to listen to. Listen, watch this.
I think you were seeing an effort by the courts to quite literally overturn the will of the American people. I saw an interview with Chief Justice Roberts recently where he said the role of the court is to check the excesses of the executive. I thought that was a profoundly wrong sentiment. That's one half of his job. The other half of his job is to check the excesses of his own branch. And you cannot have a country where the American people keep on electing immigration enforcement, and the courts tell the American people they're not allowed to have what they voted for.
I mean, Joyce, he is criticizing the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, who is by no means in the liberal wing on that bench. And so I just think that the vice president is profoundly wrong in his assessment of the role of the Supreme Court. But you are the attorney here of the two of us on the screen. Your thoughts on what the vice president had to say?
So I'm not going to mince words here. J.D. Vance is a Yale-educated lawyer. He understands how judicial review works. And since early in the history of our country, a landmark Supreme Court case, Marbury versus Madison, just after the founding, the Supreme Court has had the power of judicial review. It can review conduct by either the legislative branch or the executive branch, the president, for constitutionality. It is not supposed to execute the will of the American people, and the vice president knows that. It's supposed to compare actions taken by other branches of government for consistency with the Constitution, and it has the ability to strike them down when they run afoul of that. End of story.
Joyce, we've had quite a few lawyers come on the show over the last few weeks saying that at the end of the day, they do have trust that the Supreme Court will kind of, in their words, save us from some of the things, the expanding of executive power, what the president wants to do, et cetera. Do you have that same hope? Because when I talk to Democrats in that building behind us on Capitol Hill, Democrats around the country, voters, when I talk to activists and advocates, they don't have that. So why, if you believe you think the Supreme Court will hold as a bulwark, why should people feel confident that that's the case?
So I'm trying very hard to have confidence in the Supreme Court because, frankly, they've given us some reason for concern. Of course, there's Trump versus United States, the case that really threw us into this situation by giving a president virtually unlimited immunity from criminal prosecution for acts he commits while in office. You know, I think that case was a mistake. We're watching it play out in real time. The consequences when a president is completely unbridled from accountability and responsibility are absolutely negative for the country. Has the court learned a lesson? I mean, I think that's sort of a, in many ways, just a trite way of putting it, because this is a court that fundamentally does believe in the unitary executive, the powerful executive. In a case called Loper Bright, they have done away with this notion that we have a layer of career bureaucrats, people with expertise in the executive branch, who should act based on their expertise to protect the interests of the American people. So again, none of this is easy. Maybe it's not made for television in the sense that this is almost an entry-level college class on politics. Your question, will the Supreme Court hold? I do believe that at the end of the day, when they face fundamental questions about this president's ability to undo government, they will hold. What I'm concerned about is at the margins, some of these cases that we're seeing where they are permitting the president to act in ways that would seem to exceed our traditional understanding of a president's power.